Okay. Hello Nadia, hello Michaela, welcome guys. These little flyaways behave today. Let's see. Okay. Okay, welcome Jordan. I'm Cinevis. Shoot, it's been a long time. Hi Daniel Richards, welcome guys. Hello Yusuf, welcome. So our special guest has arrived guys. Let's wait a few more minutes for more people to pop in and then we can start. But let me know what you guys are up to. Where are you guys? Are you sitting in your lounges? Do you have like coffee and tea with you? Are you sitting by the fireplace? What are you guys? How are you joining us today? Welcome Jessica. Okay, I think guys, let us start. Welcome Bridge. Okay, so welcome guys. Ooh, Vicky, guys, they still exist, the real thing. Okay, welcome guys to the Cape Town Museum of Childhood's Insta Chats. My name is Chanel Fredericks and I'm so glad that you guys decided to join us today on this very cold and rainy Thursday, but we're happy that you are here. And I see some of you are saying, Michaela says she's working at my home office. Jane pouring outside watching you while I work. Thank you. And then Jessica says from my study at home. And Daniel Rich is asking, how's the weather in Cape Town? It is wet and rainy and pouring and cold and just the kind of weather you don't want to be outside today, you know. But yeah, so today guys, we have a very special guest. His name is Yusuf Daniels. He is he calls himself the accidental author, and he's just written or produced or published this book. It's called Living Lekka, and so we're going to chat to him about this book today. As you can see, I have a bookmark. I have started reading it. I've only read 2 stories so far, but I'm hoping to finish it before the weekend comes to an end. Okay, so guys, I think without any further ado, I'm gonna ask that you guys please do that virtual round of applause as we welcome in Mr. Yusuf Daniels. Oh, who is no longer with us. Okay, let's see. What went wrong here now? Oh, there we go. Okay, guys, let's do this thing. Yusuf Daniels. Get my questions ready. Die Insta-chats toe, van ons wil lekker wat is conversation Afrikaans? Ons wil lekker praat. Waar is jy? There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Shana? Can you see me?
I can see you, but you are like
Huh?
in the very far my left, your right, and your screen is like loading. So I don't know if maybe I'm going to exit you out and then like ask you to
Okay,
join
do that.
again. Sometimes that
Okay,
works. Okay, let's see if that works.
okay, go for it.
Okay, maybe it was my singing, guys. Maybe it's just that the singing is not great. And so that's why Yusuf doesn't want to join. Let's see if it works now. Guys, it's also the weather. I must say the weather is not great, and this also kind of interferes sometimes with the connection. We did test it earlier on and it worked perfectly fine. So let's see. Okay. Oh, Jessica, stop it. There we go. Perfect. It is working. It is working. There is a God.
There we go.
How are you
Let's just blame it
today?
on the weather.
Yes,
Let's
that's
just
what
blame
I
it on the
said.
weather.
I said because when we tested it earlier on, it worked perfectly fine, and now the weather is just bringing some bad technological vibes. But we will cap on. We will still make it work. Okay, we're still gonna have a lekker
Kasai.
conversation. Yeah. So Yusuf,
There we
how
go.
are you today? It is cold and wet and rainy. Yeah. How are you?
I am fabulous. Firstly,
Good.
I was in my bed. I was trying to do this in my bed, but that's not gonna work. I'm gonna go closer to the signal. I do not want to
Yeah.
mess up your interview because you are lekker like that. Let me put it down. All right. Let me find myself a
Okay.
lekker spot here. All right. Let me
Yeah.
settle in. Get ready for this.
That looks lekker. I feel like your lighting is also quite good. And that's, that's very
Okay.
important for the gram, the lighting. So,
The
yeah.
gram. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Yusuf,
Uh,
what have you been up to during this lockdown? I think I've seen on your Facebook page that you might have been like exercising and stuff. So what have you been doing? How have you been keeping busy?
you know what? So now I have, I've released my second book, right? About a month ago. And there we go. There we go. So you know all about the second book. So the book has kept me so busy. I tell you why. It's a different route. The route that everybody advises you best.
Yeah.
And if you self-publish, basically you now become a one-man show. You need to do everything around this book. And it's such an experience for me. I've absolutely loved every step of it. It's challenging, yeah, but you know what? Nothing wrong with a little bit of hard work. And the
Yeah.
rewards are way, yeah, I'm like, this is the understatement of the year. Way better than when you go with a publisher. Sorry for the publishers.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think I've heard that from a lot of authors, there's always a lot of red tape around like going the publisher route. But kudos to those who did go that route and it works out well. But obviously you prefer doing the whole self-publishing thing. So I just wanted to give a few shout out to some people. So, we always like to create some build up to our Insta chats. And so on Thursday, I put out this little post and I said, if you wrote a book about your childhood, what would that title be? So a few people gave some titles, and I really want to share it with you and everybody that's watching. And then maybe it will inspire you to get that third book going. You never know. Okay, so these are some of the titles. So Nikki Pretorius, her title for her book would be A Life Like Mine. Pfizer Geldenhuys says Bare Feet on the Cape Flats. Melanie Lippert, who also goes by the Story Ninja, said that her book would be titled Girl in a Bubble. Tulani Faleni, who is an amazing librarian at Kuyasa Library in Kailicha, he said that his book would be titled A Farm Boy's Transition into the Mother City.
Wow.
Dalmaine Ferret said her book title, her title would be Growing Up Free in the Suburbs. Suzanne Leamone said her book will be titled The Little Otter Who Could Climb Trees. Robin Burling said Playing in the Rain. And I'm wondering if she is inspired to write that book today, you know, since it is raining.
Must be.
And then Carrot Kids said The Upside Down Adventure. And then last but not least, Miss Layla Esel said her book would be titled Waiting. Okay, so now, Yusuf, you wrote, your very first book was called Living Colored. What inspired you to write this book, and the name? Where did the name come from? And I know there's lots of aspiring writers out there, people who have written, have shared their childhood stories. It's on paper, but they haven't put it out there. I still remember Bianca Flanders. She was actually the very first guest on InstaChat, and she said she wrote her book, I think, in a day, shared it with her mom, because you know you're always looking for somebody to kind of crit and give that constructive feedback. And her mom read it and said, this is absolutely good, but now don't go home and do nothing about it. Okay, so how did you end up writing Living Colored? How did that whole journey start?
Okay, so my story is a little bit different to probably most people's stories, right? Because people always tell me I was always a storyteller. So at the braai, I would be that one guy that will tell that story and then lach amal at parties. I was always I have a crazy imagination, firstly, so that helps. And you know, how this book came about it was the weirdest thing ever, because I'm a squash player. And by the way, Tulani, I think, played squash with me, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the same Tulani.
Okay, I'll
we played
ask him.
Together.
Yeah.
At Kaput, ask him. And so what happened was, on the 29th of October 2018, that was the first. Now, you must remember, I don't read a lot, right? I've never written in my life before. And I had a groin injury. It was on October the 29th, I went for acupuncture at Dr. Lin. And I was laying on his bed there, and I had all these needles in my groin and my head. And I was laying there, I was looking at the walls, but I was alone, right? And I'm looking, and I see this like a stack of toilet paper up against the wall. And I'm thinking to myself, but no, there's no ways I'm going to look at one ply toilet paper for 45 minutes with this groin, needles in my groin. So what I did was, I then took my phone off the side with my old heavy head there, took the phone. I started typing what was going on in that room. But obviously, it was not colored, so I added a bit of colored spice to what was happening in that room.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do spell checks, nothing. I just put it on Facebook and I said, sent. So you can basically say, toilet paper inspired my writing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I pressed send. I got home in the afternoon and I looked there and I thought, yay, what's going on here? A lot of laughs and a lot of likes. And I'm not used to posting stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
And I saw, wow, this is interesting. And I showed a friend of mine, Natasha, and she said, wow, this is fun, but this is a Lekka story. Why don't you try it again tomorrow? Yeah. And this is how my journey started. I wrote 10 stories in 7 days.
Wow.
Right? I made up the second story. The only made up story was the second story. Everything else was then I started writing about my childhood. But yes. I obviously added a colored spice, which is, normal.
Loved it.
And people started saying, Yusuf, you need to write a blog or a book or something. And I thought, what the hell are you people talking about? I'm not a writer. I don't, when you say you're a writer, you need to have a degree and you need to be a literature. I thought to myself, this is not for me.
Academic tall.
Yes, you need to, but
have the high English.
I messed up that whole thing when I started writing.
Yeah. Okay. And now, so I'm guessing that when you put something out there, it's also that big risk that comes with, because you never know how the public is going to react to your little, your book. So
Yeah.
what was the public's response like? Were you kind of shocked by it? Because I know your book was like a #1 seller for a while. It did really well. What was people's reaction like to your book? Did you also feel like you had that moment of where you couldn't walk down the streets anymore because people were like, oh, does Yusuf, let's take a selfie, you know? Yeah.
No, listen, it's very overwhelming. It's so heartwarming to see people celebrate what you've done. And our community, you know, and we always hear how, and unfortunately, I can speak for my community, our community, they don't always celebrate your achievements and our achievements. They always find something negative to say about it. I must be honest, I've had very few people say negative things, but that's fine. I left them all there in Takbo. They're staying there now. And I took all these Lekka people with me. And you'll find it's very minority, very small amount of people that will say negative things. The response was overwhelming and was crazy. And the response of the first book, when the book came out, that inspired me to write the second book. Because the first book just went crazy. I was at one stage, my first book was #2 in the country.
Wow.
On the Nielsen's list of ratings. And now no colored author has ever reached #1. And do you know what was the worst thing? The fourth week, that was the third week at #2. The fourth week, I think I don't know. I think personally it would have hit #1, but the publishers ran out of stock. So none of the stores had stock. So there's no stock, and I couldn't get the #1 spot, but it's fine. That's all forgiven. But when I walk down the streets, when I'm in the malls and stuff, you know what? I love it. I love it. I'm a people's person. I love people and I love chatting. Yeah. So I get stopped all the time wherever I go and I take photos and stuff. But I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'm very approachable. A lot of people look at me and I think I'm not approachable until I open my mouth and then they're like, die klong is all right. And then we start chatting.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this book, and I must put out a disclaimer. My boss is actually my boss's book, and he said, Chanel, I got this book because he gave me the first one as well to read, and he gave it to me. And so I've only read the first 2 stories, but it's been great so far. I'm hoping to finish it by Sunday because I'm a slow reader. I'm also like you, I don't do a lot of reading, but I enjoy these real life stories because it kind of then just takes me to that place. And
absolutely, and it's short also.
Yes. I just wanted to read some of the comments at the back by some people on the book. So Mark Lottie said, I felt as though I was in the kitchen on a Sunday afternoon listening to him spill these delicious stories over a few steaming cups of tea and a prize-winning platter of samosas, dalchis, and cook sisters. Because these stories are so much too succulent and cool for a sushi platter. And then Fatima Saido, who is a cookbook author, said, every story, every anecdote, each one filled to the brim with mind-blowing adventure. I could not help but feel like I'm being taken on an exhilarating escapade while turning each page. I was no longer a third party just reading a book. I felt like I was right there, and that is so true. I became a protagonist, the brilliance that is Yusuf Daniels. So it really has raving reviews. Like I said, I've read the first 2 stories, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about this book, Yusuf, and why did you, what inspired you to write a second book?
I can tell you, you know what inspired me to write that second book? All my social media followers and people that met me. Everybody that said, Yusuf, I read this book in a few hours. I read this, it's too short. You need to write another book. I got so tired of hearing that I thought to myself, you know what, let me just listen to these people and then go for it. But I had such a colorful life, you know, and you haven't even gotten to the airline stories in that book yet. So I was a flight attendant for 8 years. I played sport, a lot of sport. I played basically every sport you can think of, also at the highest level. So there were highs and lows, there were disappointments in the national team and not making the national team at one stage. And also I just had such a busy life that I've got so much to tell. And I think I've got 2 more. Oh, by the way, book 3 is on the cards for December. I'm now cutting it into 6.
Exciting.
It's very different kind of book. I can't share that yet. Very different, but it's crazy and fun. Book 4 is next year, June. So book 4 is the follow-up to this book 2.
Okay.
So it's a series of 3 books. So that's book 4, yeah. That's basically when the dragons arrived, my kids arrived. And a little bit of life with kids, but I've got some really crazy stories there as well. And stuff that I think we need to share. And when you read this book, you'll find in this book that after every story, there is a message. So I've kind of changed up from the second book. There's always an important message at the end of every story of the 22 stories. And I want to encourage people to go out there and write and do what they want to do. Read this book, and if you need lekker laughs, listen here. I'm sorry, I've seen a couple of books on the shelf. This is that book if you need to laugh right now.
Yes, I can attest to that, definitely. Yusuf, I wanted to just talk about, so like I said, I read two of the stories, and the first, it was about sport and how sport changed your life. And you said, and one of the messages was that, you know, sport kind of took you out of potentially becoming a fully fledged gangster. You know, you said you were at your school throwing clippies on the windows. Yes, Yusuf was one of those boys. And a teacher saw him and said, listen, instead of throwing clippies, stones on the window, why didn't you come throw it was baseball, right?
Baseball,
tell
yes.
us a little bit about how that sport changed your life and how sport can daily influence other young people, and the importance also that you said of parents supporting their children if this is something that they want to do.
So I was 14 years old when that happened, and I was very involved in gangsterism in Mitchellstown at the time. There was like a group of us, about 40 or 50 of us in a specific area, and we were all like hanging out, catching on a lot of nonsense, and just not nice things, you know. And the one day, myself and my 2 friends, Reggie and Shahid, we walked across the school, and we were throwing in the windows of the school because it was just fun. Yeah, stupid fun, lekker. And there was this coach. There was a coach, actually, wasn't a teacher, coach called Cliffy Johnson. He was coaching a couple of kids on a field there, right by the school. And he saw us and he shouted at us, and I thought, hey, what's going on here? And we went over to him and he said to me, listen here, guys, come, stop throwing stones here. Throw this ball. I want to see what you can do with this ball. And I thought, okay, let me show off now. And that's the day when my life changed, right there. A lot of the friends that I was friends with at the time, they are no more. Because they stayed in the environment and the gangster environment. They are no more, sadly, and a lot of them went down the wrong roads. And, you know, I was fortunate enough that day saved me. I've then started playing baseball. Well, I played soccer before that. And then baseball took me from playing locally into a provincial side. Then you start traveling around Cape Town. Now, remember, we never traveled a lot when we were younger back then. Mitchellstown was our place, and you stayed there.
Yeah.
Once every 3 months, if you go to town, big deal. You know what I mean? So that was amazing. And my mother was very supportive of whatever I did. My dad was busy working. It was tough, you know, so dads had to work most of the time. My mom also worked. But my mother would be, every time she's at a soccer game, when I was a kid, I would score a goal. Wow. My first rugby game as a kid, under 35 kilograms, it was weight at that time, I scored a try. She was sitting right by the posts. My baseball, she was at some of my top games, she was there. When I ran my first 10-kilometer race, and it's in book 1.
I was just thinking about
my first 10K race. Yes. My mother ran from the house to the start of this event, which was like a half an hour away. We got to the start. My mother was finished, but she was that kind of mother. She was there for me. And that just knowing that she's there encouraged me so much more to want to do better. Because when I started that race, I'll never forget, I was 12 years old. And there were about 60 kids in that race, 12 years and under. And I ran away from everybody. I got to like the 5K mark and I was alone. I ran that 10K race in something like 39 minutes or 29 minutes, something silly. Yeah, that was a stupid time. But remember, I've been running a lot prior to that. If you read that story, you'll see. But you know what was the highlight for me about that race? That finish line. When I came to that finish line and I saw my mother on the other side of that finish line, that was priceless to me, you know. And her screaming my name, although everybody thought it was a girl coming in because I had long hair and a lekker red jogger and shoes. Bridget Cats, that was a very fast time, but 6 months prior to that, 6 months prior to that, I ran 3 kilometers back and forth every day to my sister's house over the bridge in Mitchell's Plain. I didn't realize how fit I became. So I ran a stupid time. I think it was 39 minutes I ran that 10K in, yeah. And I came first. The next person who came in like about 15 minutes later, 15 or 20 minutes later than me. It was that fast a time. And then I did cross country because of that also. I ended up doing cross country because I found out I ran like a, but again, back to the parents. We don't realize how important it is for us to be present in our kids' lives. Whether they do good at sport or not, it doesn't matter. Just you being there makes such a big difference. And it kind of shapes the way they think and feel and how they're going to treat their kids when they're older. So for me, that was important. And this is why nowadays, I've got 3 kids, 10, 15 and 19. I go to every sporting event. I cancel stuff if I have to, but my kids will see me there. And the one game I'll never forget, my daughter was grade 7 at Rustenburg Girls High, and she played netball. And she was quite a decent netball player. She was a shooter. On that day, I think she scored 23 goals on that day, and I was sitting right by the post. And every time she shoots, she would look at me, and she would smile and wink. And that was like special, because she'd always look at me like, Dad, do I have your approval? Dad, did you see what I did? She broke the school record that day. She broke the school record in goals. And those are moments that will sit and stay with you forever. But guess what? It will stay with them forever as well.
Yes. So Yusuf, talking about your kids, did you have they read your books, and what was their reaction to your books and reading about your colorful childhood?
Okay, book 1, they just laughed. They actually, you know, it was nice. They actually sat one day. They all sat in the room and they fetched the book and they said, Dad, we want you to read these stories for us.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I didn't expect them to do that. And their mom was also there, and we all sat in the room and I had to read it for them. And the response and the reaction of these kids was, I really didn't see this coming. They so much love it because now it's actually coming from my voice, you know. And I don't know if you know me, but I'm very, I show when I am, you know, I'm like that. Yeah. So they could see the actions as well. And they love the stories. Book 2, they read a little bit and they said, Dad, you are very dear Makai. So I said, yes, my child. What?
Yeah.
You must pray for me. Pray for me. Yeah. Book 2 is that kind of book.
Okay. So Yusuf, we are really, unless guys, I want to also just acknowledge those who are watching. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions for Yusuf, just put them down in the comment section, and I'm sure Yusuf will gladly answer them. So Yusuf, I'm on my last question, and then we'll go into a fun game that we play with everybody whenever we do these live videos. Yeah. So what advice would you give aspiring writers? Especially, I'm sure somebody's going to watch us and say, you know, I've got my childhood story, I've got a story at home, but now they just need that person to give them that little push. So what advice would you give to aspiring writers out there?
Okay, so, you know, I've got a writer's workshop next week, Saturday on the 18th. Okay. So where I'm going to basically share my whole story, my whole journey on how I became a writer, on how my books hit the top 10, top 20 everywhere, how I became a bestseller with my first book. I'm just basically going to put it out there for people to inspire them to write. Like I always say, if I can write a bestseller, and I'm telling you now, I'm not saying inshallah, God willing, book 2 will become a bestseller as well. And this is what you need to do. You need to put it out there. Yeah. And don't, you know, people will always, to aspiring writers, people will always naysay. They will always say, yeah, what are you thinking? Why would you want to write? You know, they don't know your journey. They don't know what you feel.
Yeah.
Don't, if you don't have to tell anybody, put your thoughts down, write it, get advice from someone. Man, contact me. I'm here. I will help anybody. I've helped about 20, 30 people over the last few months with writing. And for me, it feels special to be able to do that, you know. I've always asked God to give me so I can give back. And this is one of the forms that I can give back. And just thankful these people are, that's enough for me, you know. But don't be shy to write the way you feel, or the way you write, or the way you talk. Like I said, we were always told that you need to write a certain way, talk a certain way. In writing, there's editors. That's why editors get paid, you know, for those kinds of things. Just write the way you feel you want to write. Put it down on paper. Set yourself a goal. Just get started, and you'll see it will flow. If you need advice again, ask me. I will give you advice personally if you need advice. I'm publishing 2 other people's books the end of this year. First-time writers, and it's going to be 2 really amazing books. I can tell you that it's 2 women, and in June I'm publishing 2 other people's books as well, because guess what? They've had one chat with me, and after that chat, they decided I'm writing. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm here to inspire. I've got one of the most inspiring stories as to where I came from and to where I am right now. The Baxter is doing a stage production on my book 1 after lockdown.
That is exciting.
Yes.
Okay.
It's amazing. Like, she contacted me, the Baxter contacted me for that. I mean, those things don't happen. But like I said, look where I came from and look where I am now. Like from Mitchell's Plain to Aeroplane, is like, don't let your, don't let dictate where you come from. Don't let that be your outcome. The sky is the limit. It's up to you, but you need to get up. You need to get up, and you need to do. You can't just talk. I'm going to write. Man, write, man. Just write, put it down on paper. And I was told, what are you doing? Why are you writing? And I said, I enjoy it. I said, that's silly. These stories, what are you doing? I've heard a few people say that. Now imagine I listened to those people.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I listened to those people? I would have still been sitting, hustling. Because I am a hustler by nature. I'm an auctioneer, and I run around and move and do this and that. Now, because I didn't listen to those naysayers, I can actually, guess what? I can actually help someone become a bestseller or number 1 somewhere, or just put out a really amazing book. And just make them feel good about themselves, you know. So my story is amazing. Like I said to you, at that workshop next week, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to share stuff with people that they won't normally hear anyway. You know, people are keen to share this kind of information openly with everybody. I'm not going to die with this information. I can guarantee you that. I'm not going to my grave with this information. I'm going to send this to people and give it to people so they can carry on. We need to leave a legacy behind. I find, say, where's the best stories? Where do you find the best stories? In the graveyard. Want almal gaan sat met hulle stories. Instead of telling the stories, how are our kids going to know? How are our kids going to know what we lived like, or our history? Now, what I want now, I'm busy with the schools now also and the curriculum. I think we need to get our history, the colored history, also into the curriculum. We've now heard the black history. Yes. We've seen the white history. I think it's time that we get our history also in there. And that's what I'm kind of fighting for now. More kids need to know how myself, their parents, and their grandparents grew up, and just how amazing it was, even through the tough times that we've been, you know? So, that's the story.
I think that's amazing, guys. I just want to remind you that the workshop that Yusuf is hosting is the 18th of July, and I think we'll also share it on our pages so that you guys can get the contact details. I just want to share this with you, Yusuf. I am Akila23 said she'll definitely message you for help, and Lynn Haddis says, wow, that's awesome. I'm sure she's talking about
Thank you, Lynn. You gorgeous woman, you.
Yeah. Okay. So, Yusuf, we are now going to move on to our game. This is a game that we play with all of our guests. And I want to warn you that everybody has to, or everybody ends up singing. So you probably need to warm up your vocal chords.
Ready? I'm ready.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to read out a statement and you just say the very first word or whatever comes to your mind. Okay, you ready?
Right.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite childhood book.
Putin Sarki.
Okay, your favorite childhood food.
Tamati Bridi.
Yo, listen, can I just say, guys, my mother, I am getting married, and my mother's like, you need to put all the recipes together, like tomato food. I said, Mommy, that is my favorite. I'm not going to make that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm only going to come to you or Ma, ever. And why would you want to make your favorite food? Like, that's weird when it tastes so much better when your mother makes it. So, love tomato bridi. Your favorite holiday when you were a child or favorite time of the year?
Favorite time of the year, summer. We as kids, we didn't go on a lot of holidays. We went camping, yeah. But the pool, the West Street swimming bath, that was like a long holiday. Every day we were there.
Yeah.
So that was my best memories as a child, that baths.
Yes, yes. Okay. Your favorite childhood sucker or ice cream?
Ooh. Jelly belly. They call it jelly jolly now.
Yes, yes.
But we call it jelly belly. Yeah.
That is the best because it tastes great and it doesn't mess like the other suckers. I always felt like it was nice.
3 at a time.
Yo, my word.
I still eat it today.
Okay, your favorite TV series or show that you watched as a child? Please don't say Days of Our Lives.
Petruccelli.
Okay.
Petruccelli. Yeah, you wouldn't know that. That's before your time.
I don't know that at all, but okay, I'm sure there's some people that would know that. Okay, your favorite singer or band as a child?
Kool and the Gang.
Kool and the Gang. Okay, so let's give us a bit of Kool and the Gang. What song? I mean, we need to
but Stevie Wonder. No, Stevie Wonder first. Let's go Stevie Wonder first.
Let's go.
Right. So here goes. This song, it took me 6 months just to learn this verse, right? But I think I perfected it.
Okay, let's go.
Are you ready for it?
I am ready to receive.
Right. Now I'm a man of many wishes. I scratch my pee-pee when it itches. But what I really feel is my hands between my legs. There I stop. I can't anymore.
I'm sure the words is because I'm a man of many wishes. Hope my premonition.
No.
My eyes only see because they always.
No. In Mitchell's Plain, that was not the words. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Shucks.
Yes, those are the words we learned.
Give us a little bit of Kool and the Gang. I'm trying to think.
No, man, I can't remember any Kool and the Gang songs, man.
Kool and the Gang.
I used to just dance a lot to their music. I used to put on the LP, and they used to just jawl a lot on them.
They don't sing "Let's Groove Tonight." Or is that Earth, Wind and Fire? Anyway.
Let's leave it there. That was my singing. That was my singing for the day.
Brilliant, eh? I think if they're gonna do a production on your book, you can tell them you are triple threat. You can act, you can sing, and you can dance. I'm sure you can dance as well.
All right. I will mention it to them.
Okay, your favorite childhood teacher?
Oh, Mrs. Andrews at Cyprus Primary School. She taught me how to swim. She taught me how to tell time. And she was just a beautiful person.
Okay, shout out to Miss Andrews. Okay, and if you could sum up your childhood using one word, what would that word be?
It has to be 2 words.
Okay, go ahead.
Fucking lekker.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, Yusuf, is there anybody that you would like to give a quick shout out to? Anybody that you want to say hello to before we end?
Just to all my Insta followers, Facebook followers, just people that have been supporting me through this journey. Nothing short of an amazing journey, and it's just growing and growing. There's stuff I can't even tell you about what's happening on here because I'm not allowed to reveal it yet. But watch the space. But you know what? If it wasn't, if it wasn't for these people on social media who supports me, and I would never be where I am. Firstly, God, obviously, God, as always, priority. And then my social media followers. These are the people that put me out there. So you know what? As an artist or a writer, whatever, I always feel you need to make time for these people. And that's why I like the personal thing that I do with these people. Just as a thank you, you know, because they took the time out to like or share or buy my book. And I'm appreciative. Like, you will not believe because of these people. Without these people, you're nothing. So thanks to all of them, definitely.
Okay, and Yusuf, thank you so much from our side. Thank you so much for being willing to be our special guest today. We had a brilliant time. I'm sure everybody, we can see by the comments, people are loving it. And just thank you to all of you who have joined us, who've taken time out of your day to be with us and just show us a lot of love. And Yusuf, we wish you every success. We're looking forward to book number 3 and 4. And I'm especially looking forward to that production. I love the theater, so I will be there front row with my samosas and dalchis in my bag, watching your show.
Lekka Jai. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Nam. And I'm holding you to that, no? I'm going to see you at that production.
I will be there.
Okay, darling. Lekka Jai. And thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Ciao.
Pleasure. Thanks. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.